In the heart of a bustling American city, where the hum of daily life blended with the chatter of schoolchildren and the honking of cars, there was a high school named Westview High. It was an ordinary institution on the surface, with red brick walls, sprawling athletic fields, and hallways lined with lockers that bore the scars of decades of teenage rebellion. But beneath the surface, Westview was a microcosm of dreams, struggles, and, at times, cruelty. Among its faculty was a woman named Eleanor Brooks, a 38-year-old English teacher whose passion for literature was matched only by her quiet resilience. She was known for her gentle demeanor, her ability to make Shakespeare sing for even the most disinterested students, and her knack for seeing the good in everyone. But what no one expected, not her colleagues, not her students, and certainly not the town, was that Eleanor would become the center of a story that would ripple far beyond the school's walls. Eleanor had been at Westview for a decade, a fixture in the English department, her classroom a haven of dog-eared novels and handwritten notes. She was the kind of teacher who stayed late to help a struggling student, who slipped granola bars into the backpacks of kids she knew skipped lunch, and who always had a warm smile, even on the toughest days. But Westview, like many schools, had its shadows. A group of seniors, led by a charismatic but cruel boy named Trent Larson, had carved out a reputation as the untouchables of the school. Trent, with his sharp jawline and sharper tongue, was the son of a prominent local businessman, and his influence cast a long shadow. His crew, 3 boys and 2 girls, followed his lead, their confidence bolstered by the impunity that came with wealth and connections. They were the kind of kids who could make a hallway fall silent with a single glance, their laughter a warning rather than an invitation. The trouble began in the fall, when Trent enrolled in Eleanor's advanced placement English class. At first, it was subtle, a smirk during her lecture on The Great Gatsby, a whispered joke that sent his friends into stifled giggles. Eleanor, accustomed to the occasional teenage defiance, brushed it off. She believed in patience, in guiding rather than confronting. But Trent was different. His defiance wasn't born of boredom or insecurity, it was calculated, a game to assert dominance. He started interrupting her lessons with snide comments, questioning her interpretations in a way that wasn't curious but mocking. "What's the point of this old stuff, Ms. Brooks?" he'd say, leaning back in his chair, his voice dripping with condescension. "Nobody cares about dead poets." Soon, his behavior escalated. He'd leave notes on her desk with crude drawings, spill coffee on her lesson plans, by accident, and rally his friends to snicker whenever she spoke. The other students, sensing the shift in power, either joined in or stayed silent, afraid to cross Trent's crew. Eleanor reported the incidents to the administration, but the principal, a man named Harold Grayson who was more concerned with keeping the school's wealthy donors happy than enforcing discipline, downplayed her concerns. "Teenagers will be teenagers," he said, adjusting his tie. "Just keep them engaged, Eleanor. You're good at that." But engagement wasn't the issue. Trent's campaign grew bolder. He started spreading rumors about Eleanor, whispers that she was incompetent, that she was too soft, that she didn't belong at Westview. The rumors took root, as rumors do in high schools, and soon Eleanor found herself isolated. Colleagues she'd once considered friends began avoiding her, wary of being associated with someone the cool kids had targeted. Her classroom, once a sanctuary, felt like a battleground. She began to dread the sound of the bell, knowing it signaled another hour of Trent's smirks and barbed comments. The tipping point came on a crisp October afternoon, during the school's annual Fall Festival, a community event held on the football field. The festival was a big deal at Westview, with food trucks, games, and a stage for performances. Parents, students, and alumni milled about, the air thick with the smell of popcorn and the sound of a local band. Eleanor was there, volunteering at a booth selling used books to raise money for the library. She was arranging a stack of paperbacks when Trent and his crew approached, their laughter cutting through the festival's cheerful hum. "Hey, Ms. Brooks," Trent called, his voice loud enough to draw attention. "Why don't you read us one of your boring poems?" His friends laughed, egging him on. Eleanor felt her cheeks flush but kept her composure, offering a polite smile. "I'm happy to recommend a book if you'd like, Trent," she said, her voice steady. But Trent wasn't interested in books. He stepped closer, his friends forming a semicircle behind him, their phones already out, ready to record. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" he said, his tone venomous. "Always acting like you're better than us. Why don't you show some respect for once?" Before Eleanor could respond, he pointed to the ground. "Kneel," he said, his voice low but commanding. The crowd around them went quiet, sensing something ugly unfolding. Eleanor froze, her heart pounding. She could feel dozens of eyes on her, students, parents, even other teachers. She wanted to walk away, to laugh it off, but Trent's crew closed in, their presence suffocating. "I said, kneel," Trent repeated, louder this time. His friends started chanting, "Do it! Do it!" The pressure was unbearable, the humiliation a physical weight. Eleanor, her legs trembling, lowered herself to one knee, her eyes fixed on the ground. She told herself it was just a moment, that it would pass, that she could endure it. The crowd was silent now, some shocked, others uncomfortable, but no one stepped in. Trent laughed, a sharp, cruel sound, and tossed a crumpled dollar bill at her. "There's your tip, teacher," he said, turning away as his friends howled with laughter, their phones capturing every second. Eleanor stayed there for a moment, the world blurring around her. She felt small, exposed, like a character in one of the tragedies she taught. But as she stood, brushing the dirt from her knee, something shifted inside her. It wasn't just anger, it was clarity. She'd spent years turning the other cheek, believing kindness could overcome cruelty. But in that moment, she realized that some battles required a different kind of strength. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor retreated inward, but she wasn't defeated. She spent her evenings researching, digging into school policies, state laws, and even the backgrounds of Trent and his crew. She learned that Trent's father, a real estate mogul, had donated heavily to the school, which explained Principal Grayson's reluctance to act. She found out that two of Trent's friends had juvenile records for vandalism and shoplifting, their cases swept under the rug thanks to family connections. She also discovered a network of former students who'd left Westview because of bullying, their stories eerily similar to her own. Eleanor began to plan. She wasn't a fighter in the traditional sense, she'd never thrown a punch or raised her voice, but she had a mind sharper than any blade. She started documenting everything, every incident, every comment, every video posted online. She reached out to the former students, collecting their testimonies. She contacted a lawyer friend from college, who agreed to take her case pro bono. And she enrolled in a self-defense class, not because she planned to use it, but because she wanted to feel strong again, to reclaim the confidence Trent had tried to strip away. The turning point came in early December, during a school assembly in the auditorium. The event was meant to celebrate the holiday season, with student performances and speeches from the principal. Trent and his crew were there, sitting in the back, their whispers audible even over the choir's rendition of "Silent Night." Eleanor was scheduled to give a brief talk about the importance of literature in fostering empathy, a topic she'd chosen deliberately. As she took the stage, she saw Trent nudge his friends, their phones already raised. She began her speech, her voice clear and steady. She spoke about stories, about how they teach us to see the world through others' eyes, to understand pain and triumph. Then, she paused, her gaze sweeping the room. "But stories also teach us about consequences," she said, her eyes locking onto Trent's. "They teach us that every action has a reaction, that cruelty doesn't go unanswered forever." The room was silent, the air charged. Eleanor reached into her folder and pulled out a stack of papers, printouts of the videos, screenshots of the rumors, copies of the complaints she'd filed. She held them up for everyone to see. "For months, I've been targeted by a group of students who thought they could act without consequence," she said. "They humiliated me, mocked me, and tried to break me. They made me kneel in public, thinking it would make them powerful. But they were wrong." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Principal Grayson stood, his face red, but Eleanor didn't stop. "I have evidence," she continued, "of every incident, every failure of this administration to act. I have testimonies from students who left this school because of the same kind of cruelty. And I have a lawyer ready to file a lawsuit against this district for negligence, for allowing a culture of bullying to thrive." She turned to Trent, who was no longer smirking. "You thought you could break me," she said, her voice unwavering. "But I'm still standing. And now, it's your turn to face the consequences." The auditorium erupted. Some students cheered, others whispered, and a few teachers looked away, ashamed. Principal Grayson stormed the stage, demanding she stop, but Eleanor held her ground. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about every student who's been made to feel small, every teacher who's been silenced. It's about changing this school. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire. Local news outlets picked it up, running headlines about the teacher who fought back. Parents demanded answers, students shared their own stories of bullying, and the school board launched an investigation. Trent and his crew were suspended, their parents' influence no longer enough to shield them. The videos they'd so proudly posted became evidence in a lawsuit that would cost the district millions. Principal Grayson resigned, citing personal reasons, but everyone knew the truth. Eleanor didn't break any bones in the literal sense, but she shattered something far more powerful, the illusion of invincibility that bullies like Trent relied on. She broke the cycle of silence, the culture of complicity that had allowed cruelty to flourish. Her lawsuit led to new anti-bullying policies at Westview, mandatory training for staff, and a student-led task force to address harassment. She became a symbol, not just at Westview but across the country, of what it means to rise up, to reclaim your voice, and to fight for what's right. Years later, long after the headlines faded, Eleanor remained at Westview. Her classroom was still a haven, but now it was also a place of empowerment. Students who'd once been afraid to speak up found their voices in her lessons, inspired by a teacher who'd faced the worst and come out stronger. Trent, meanwhile, faded into obscurity, his family's wealth no match for the weight of his actions. And every fall, at the school's festival, Eleanor would walk the grounds with her head held high, a quiet reminder that even the smallest spark of courage can ignite a revolution.